Hello and welcome to Firefly episode overview number 6, Our Mrs. Reynolds. And here we go. Our Mrs. Reynolds is the 6th episode of the Firefly TV series and was first aired on Fox on October 4th, 2002. On Triumph, as a Conestoga wagon with a hunched-over couple makes its way through a shallow river, a band of men on horseback stops and demands its cargo. The lead bandit even insists on a little one-on-one time with the missus. The driver, Jayne, suggests they reconsider, insulting the frumpy-dressed woman sitting next to him. As she raises her head, it turns out to be Mal, who continues the banter with Jayne, until they suddenly pull their weapons on the bandits. The subsequent exchange of gunfire, aided by Zoe in the wagon, quickly kills all the bandits. At a celebration party later that night, an inebriated Jayne and Mal accepts gifts from the poor townspeople. Jayne is given a rain stick. Mal enjoys being given a wreath, a bowl of wine, and a dance from a lovely young woman. After Serenity is underway again, while Mal is putting away some cargo, he is surprised by the young woman, who announces that she is his wife. Mal asks Zoe to call Wash down, presumably to have him return to the planet, but Zoe calls the entire crew down to the cargo bay to enjoy the show. While Mal sputters his insensitive attempts to disavow Mrs. Reynolds, Shepherd Book quickly reads up on the local customs and finds that the wreath, wine, and dance were a marriage ritual. The captain is indeed married to this mystery girl. Mal has a heart-to-heart with a woman, whose name he eventually learns is Saffron. He tries to convince the frightened, submissive woman that she should stand up for herself. Unfortunately, returning Saffron to the planet is not an option, as one of the bandits was the nephew of a prefect. So at a loss for what to do, Mal suggests that she starts a new life for herself on the destination world, Beaumonde. She promises to be a good wife, but Mal claims that I'd be a terrible husband. You have 5 whole days to figure that out. She runs off excitedly to cook him a meal. Mal encounters Book, who tells him that getting a divorce is very difficult and that they would need to return to the planet to get one. He then makes it clear how he feels about Mal's position. Book says, if you take sexual advantage of her, you're going to burn in a very special level of hell. One they reserve for child molesters and people who talk at the theater. Saffron turns out to be every bit as good a cook as she claims. As Wash's mouth waters over Mal's boon, Zoe expresses her contempt for the situation. Both Mal's nubile little slave girl and Wash's implied desire for a wife who cooks. Escaping an offer to have his feet washed, Mal runs off to Inara's shuttle to engage in a more comfortable conflict, in the process of complaining about Mal's irregular schedule and his impact on her work. Inara gets around to expressing her contempt for his making a commitment to this woman and then breaking it. She finally chases him out of the shuttle, where he immediately encounters an armed and menacing Jayne. Cocking his favorite rifle, Vera, Jayne advances on Mal, demanding respect and explaining how he acquired the gun in a battle against 6 men. Suddenly, Jayne hands the rifle to Mal. "Are you offering me a trade?" wonders Mal. After dismissing Jayne's rude attempt at barter, Mal again encounters Saffron, who concedes that she could work on Beaumonde, an acceptable alternative to wedded life. Mal surprises himself by sharing some personal history with her, which apparently he hasn't done with anyone else in the crew. Meanwhile, Serenity passes a camera mounted on an asteroid which tracks them and takes images. On the other craft, 2 men discuss the potential for salvaging the Firefly-class ship. One, named Bree, complains that the ship they are spying on is worthless. His boss disagrees, however, and is eager to take the vessel, if she comes our way. Zoe continues to argue with Wash about the problem Saffron represents, which to Wash seems more like a problem with Zoe. Meanwhile, Mal enters his quarters to find Saffron, wrapped in only a sheet, warming his bed. She insists that since they are married, she wants to consummate their marriage, even if she is to stay behind on Beaumonde. Mal works hard, not only resisting her alluring arguments, but also to insist that she feel not beholden to him just because she was treated as an offering of payment. Saffron convincingly demands that he give her my wedding night, using a quote from her Bible, and contemplating the special hell, Mal finally succumbs to a kiss. He quickly succumbs to unconsciousness as well, from a potent narcotic contained in her lipstick, and the formerly charming ingenue now scornfully observes his senseless form. Saffron then goes to the bridge to seduce Wash, but Wash more successfully resists her charms, especially given that he's married to a beautiful woman who can kill me with her pinky. He yammers on about Zoe. Saffron rolls her eyes and suddenly kicks him unconscious and off the bridge, locking the door and going to work on the controls. She then welds the bridge door shut and heads for the shuttle, but is intercepted by Inara. The con artist turns her charms on Inara, who appears too warm to her vulnerability. When the ship's alarm sounds, however, both women abruptly drop their pretenses, exchanging ironic compliments before Inara asks, "Who are you?" To which Saffron replies, "Malcolm Reynolds' widow." A brief fight ensues that allows Saffron to escape in an unoccupied shuttle. Thinking that Mal has been killed, Inara rushes to his room, where he groggily responds to her panicked exclamations. She kisses him and goes to call for help, but soon gets dizzy. Touching her hands to her hips, she realizes how Saffron disabled Mal. She says, "Oh, you stupid son of a," before collapsing herself. Mal finally awakens to most of his crew in his quarters. Simon describes the goodnight kiss that took him out. Wash bemoans having been kicked instead, and Inara comically and repeatedly explains that she hit her head. Jayne and Kaylee break into the bridge. Kaylee and Wash get to work on the masterful job of muck-up that Saffron had made of their ship. Inara suggests that Saffron is exceptionally talented, possibly even Companion Academy trained. On their own spacecraft, the scrapper boss and Bree observe Serenity approaching, complimenting Saffron for her excellent work. Serenity's crew finally gets a reading on their heading, right into the electronically disabled net called a carrion house. While Kaylee struggles to get navigational ability, Jayne uses Vera to shoot up one of the net's 6 breakers, shorting the structure just as Serenity passes through it, unharmed. Jayne also returns the scavengers' threat of depressurization by blowing out a port on their spacecraft, killing the 2 unsuited men. Later, on a snowy world, Saffron is panicked when Mal busts into her cabin. After a brief struggle accompanied by Mal's mockery of their supposed wedding nuptials, he asks her why she would go through so much trouble for a con game. She says, "You're assuming the payoff is the point." After exchanging dubious compliments, and having failed to satisfy his curiosity about her real name, Mal simply knocks her unconscious and leaves with his shuttle. Back on Serenity, Mal presses Inara for an explanation on how she, a graceful woman, managed to hit her head while calling for help. When Inara acknowledges that she didn't trip, Mal jumps to the wrong conclusion. He said, "I knew you let her kiss you," though her professional reputation had taken a minor hit. Inara's emotional discretion with the groggy captain remains her secret. Background information. River has no lines in this episode. The one scene she spoke in was cut during the final edit of the episode. This directorial decision was to draw as little attention to her character as possible. Between River's erratic social behavior and the fact that the prior episode established that she could read minds, it would have made Saffron's con much more difficult to pull off, and thus make for a less interesting story. Hey, thank you for watching Firefly episode overview number 6. Special thanks to the Firefly fandom for all information you heard today. Have a great day and bye-bye!